Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the FinFab channel, the NBC network. Today's guest is Timothy Ward, a man whose life proves that your past doesn't get to decide your future. Timothy grew up in chaos, facing physical and emotional abuse, just trying to survive. But he found a way out through youth sports. And what started as an escape became a lifelong purpose. Now, at 60 years old, Timothy is a living example of what fitness, discipline, and resilience can do. He's an expert in fitness and longevity, helping others build strength, reclaim their health, and rewrite their story. His message is simple but powerful. You don't have to just survive, you can transform. And he's sharing that blueprint in his book, The Goat Within. You'll see it right now. A battle cry for anyone over 45 who refuses to fade into weakness, sickness, or frailty. Let's get into it. Tim, welcome to the show. Timothy, you're in the place to be today. We're gonna have some fun. And by
Mm.
the way, as you and I we just joked about, I'm Hurricane H and you're Tornado T, right?
I am Tornado T for sure, man.
I no one came up with that one but you. So I had to throw that in, man. But what a story, man. What a story. It's like reading about you and your journey. It's
Yeah.
powerful, man. And it is needed. I think everybody goes through this lifespan, in ups and downs, roller coaster mode. I mean, it's just what it is. It's just part of life. And you know, I mean, you hit the 60 mark, and that's a beautiful mark. And
Mm.
people sometimes, when you're young, you don't realize how life can go on, and what would come about, right? And you've been challenged, but you've challenged things back, and you made a whole blueprint that you're sharing now with people. Well,
Mm.
let's get started. I mean, let's get into the details of that beginning of your life, with where all that chaos and how you got to get rid of all that and change and shift your mindset to
Mm.
where you are today.
Yeah, it really, we all look back on our lives and, you know, our lives are, no matter who we are, it's a series of stories. It really is thousands and thousands of stories, some big, some small. I talk a little bit about that in the book. And one of the things I like to utilize when I speak, I do public speaking, or groups that I speak to, training and longevity practices, I always say to people, don't let somebody else write your story. You can be the author of your own story, and there's ways to do that. So my story is one of just a huge love of sports and athletics. And I was very talented when I was young, and that was my happy place when I was young. 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, 12, teens, all the way into my early 20s. It just, I couldn't get enough of competing. It was an offset from a pretty rough childhood that I grew up in. Physical abuse, mental abuse. Uh, some people have had it bad. Some people haven't had it as bad as I had it. But I always knew that the feelings that that can give you as a young person are one of fear, one of you don't know what to do, and so that's why sports became an incredible place for me to always be. And winning games, winning a championship, whether it was on a field or on a court, having the camaraderie of my teammates, all those things would feel so great compared to the abuse at home. I never stopped playing sports. It was 365 days a year just to be in that environment, right? So crafting our lives with that as an example, it can happen at any stage in your life. So my journey from all that tough stuff, I always knew that I would get out of it. And I didn't know how, but I always knew. I always kept my eye on that ball. So what happened is when I got into my teens, I knew I had to be bigger, stronger, faster to keep the athletic journey going, right? So that led into what a lot of us in our teens, we end up going to the high school weight room or, working out with our buddies, whatever it may be. So I did that whole thing and, it was all incorrect. I didn't know it at the time, but I ventured into my late teens. Then I got scholarships for sports at small schools, Division 3, Division 2 schools. And I remember in my training, I remember being frustrated because I would hit these plateaus, or I would copy what somebody else was doing in the gym or what they ate, not really understanding how deep exercise science is. Okay, very, very complex field. So what happened is I ended up meeting a real exercise scientist, and this guy told me, "You're doing that all wrong." And of course, I was offended. What do you mean? I've been in the gyms for years, and he laughed at me. He said, "You care to take an hour with me? I'll show you some things that you're doing that are completely incorrect, and they're stunting your gains and your growth and all this stuff." And he hit a nerve because I knew deep down he's right. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'll listen to him. And that 1 hour that I spent with this guy, I couldn't get words out of my mouth. I was so fascinated with the science of fitness and nutrition, and now, of course, longevity. It is a major, major science. So my journey really sort of started at that point, getting a real picture behind the curtains of what real fitness and wellness practices look like from a scientific viewpoint. So I started to get so into it. And then all of a sudden, all these plateaus, all these things that I couldn't break through on barriers, just I was running through them and putting less time into it. And it blew my mind. So once that whole process started happening, I started to really dive into exercise science myself, getting certificates, going to school, working with the next level was PhDs, people that ran the U.S. Olympic Academy, all the protocols for all different type of athletes and so on and so forth. And the things I saw out of that experience for about 7 years, absolutely mind blowing. And that really led me into really crafting systems and working with people at different levels. And over the years, I have trained hundreds, several hundred people worldwide at this point. And the systems that I put them through, not only are they clear for them to understand, but the amount of people that I've helped, especially now with people getting concerned if they're 50, 60 years old, the executives, and they're overweight, they're really out of shape. All of these things take knowledge. I've put them into these systems. One of them is called the longevity matrix. And it's a system where people really can look at the individual pieces and it makes sense to them. I do all the heavy lifting for people now. I've trained pro athletes, Division 1, Division 2 athletes trying to get, professional scholarships. I've trained, husbands and wives. I've trained youth athletic teams, Nike travel team, all that sort of stuff, right? Now, what my brand has become, especially after the book I wrote, The Goat Within, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I work with people really from 40 years old, roughly, to about 75. That's the pocket that probably 90% of the people I work with are in that range. And here's why. When you hit that 40-year-old mark, especially 45, everything starts to change. Okay. I use a word a lot with people, preemptive. Understand how to be preemptive. Don't wait until you really start to nosedive in your 50s or 60s. And then you try to recover stuff that is very hard to recover if weren't so preemptive, right? So the disconnect with people is having the knowledge to really understand how to combine really four major pieces of this puzzle. And each piece of it has a big drop down list of science in ways that people, if they knew what I knew, they would start laughing at themselves saying, I've been doing this wrong my whole life. And that's really where I've ended up. And I'm teaching people how to add another 10 years to their life in not just time, but quality of life, right? And there's a specific way that that happens. And I'm just happy to be at that level where I can really take an individual or a husband and wife team or an executive that is so engrossed in their work or in a lifestyle that that really keeps them away from doing certain things in a weekly routine that could elevate their life. It's the roots of longevity and performance and wellness. And that's really what I teach. And I'm starting to speak now on the road at companies and organizations to show them a stronger individual, a more healthy individual can take a workforce or a team or a group and make them dominant in whatever they do. So it all starts with the individual. It starts to, think about a sick and weak workforce or a sick and weak group of people. They can't perform anywhere near as well. They may be able to pull it off one day a week or a couple days a month, but it's not sustainable. So The Goat Within is the name of the book. It became a bestseller. I go through some of these strategies in there, but ever since the book, I think it was November of last fall, became a bestseller. And my emails have blown up, and people really, I'm blessed. I'm absolutely blessed to have a book that I'm not an author. It's the first book I ever wrote. Talk about getting out of my comfort zone, right? It's a few hundred pages packed with information, real information that people can use, right? So it all adds up to how I started. Be the author of your own story. Don't let toxicity of life and our nutrition and all the mass produced food. I go into all this stuff. That is writing a very bad story for people, and people don't even realize it, right? So that's what I'm talking about with knowledge. It's one of the big deficiencies. People have a lack of knowledge on how to really put together all this stuff. And I feel bad for people. I see them in the gyms. I hear from them from different countries, email me. And it's always, I've been working out for so long and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. And that ends when they meet me. And if they work with me, I begin to craft that entire ecosystem for them, step by step by step. And that for me makes me get up every morning because I am love meeting new people and guiding them and working with them. So they begin to write their own health and longevity story, and that's really what I do now. And like I said, it's a blessing to be able to be in this position. I've earned it, but still I pinch myself like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Well, I'm listening to you. I'm smiling because you, I mean, I don't know where to begin, dude. I mean, you just cover a lot of things there. And so I do want to hit a couple things. But one thing funny that I was thinking about while you were talking is that I've done thousands of shows right now so far. And especially in the fitness and wellness, but we have never linked it. I've had no one that linked it to business, uh,
Mm,
in the way you just presented, because we hear a lot, especially in the business discussions, things like that. We talk about like, skills and stuff, but no one talks about the health or the physical aspect of your
mm,
health that can contribute to your successes. So we'll touch on that in a minute. But I want to go
mm,
back to something you said, like you had a very tough childhood, in a
mm.
way that's I'll describe it that way.
Yep,
And you're right. There's a lot of people that have similar, experiences, sadly, and for whatever reason, we're not going to go into that dive there.
sure.
But but you chose sports.
Mm,
Many people, and I've had different discussions where it's the other way. They tend to go to the wrong phases. They go to
yes,
drugs or other
yes.
means to suppress, right? And
Hmm.
therefore they just destroy themselves. Now, I've had great stories that we've covered before, and a huge success there where people came from the worst scenario to the best scenario in health and success, financial, and you name it, right? But I love that. So my question to you is, how did you do that? How did you kind of push yourself? Because I know that it's a lot easier to get into the wrong stuff, and you
Hmm.
maintained in the sports side, and that's one first question. Also, you talked about something that is, I love that we obviously when we hit the book, the matrix for
Hmm.
longevity, right? That
Hmm.
is, I mean, matrix sounds very futuristic, spacious. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like something that's deep, and it is. I mean, it's the
Hmm.
formula of success. It's the
Yep.
real genome, the DNA, like you're putting the new
Yes.
helix for how longevity works. Now, of course, we're not talking about the medical sense of it, but you also mentioned
Mm,
science, and I love the way
mm,
you throw the science because you said something funny, well, not funny, but real, that you went to the gym, you did your thing, but you realized later on it was all wrong. And by the way, we all did.
mm,
I've been to the gym since I was a teenager. I was in the gym. I started martial arts when I was 9.
mm.
And of course, with martial arts comes workout, and there's martial
Sure.
arts training. But of course, you hit the gyms, the weights. But yeah, but there was no science to it. You just did what everybody did. Read the magazines and
Yeah.
you push how much weight I can press, and that's how you do it, right?
Yep.
And but a lot of stuff was just done that way. And I think a lot of people have done that same exact thing. And today, you're right. I've seen them. I see them today at the gyms. Like some people are pushing so much and doing all this stuff. I mean, what's the point? And that the reason I'm saying all these items is because you hit on a very age point when you
Mm,
mentioned 45 is the determining age uh, deadline or timeline.
mm,
And and people sometimes, if you're young today and you're watching the show, you think that these are two older gentlemen having a discussion about age, and you're not
mm,
there yet. Well, first of all, we would love to see people exceed that age and really go as far as they can. But the idea is, how do you maintain vitality? Which
mm,
basically, if you live long, you want to be healthy. You don't want to be sick.
mhm,
We see a lot more of that today.
mhm,
People are living longer, but a lot of illnesses and disease and sicknesses and inability to just catch up. And it's very difficult. And that's the other thing. People, listen, I'm in the 50s, so I'm not too far
Yep.
behind. And I can tell you, yeah, you're right. That mark, 40s, 45 mark. First of all, 45 mark, if you do double that, you're in the 90s. So that's actually more
Yeah.
than the average person lives, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're already like at the midpoint, and now it's on the decline. So two ways: you either help it somehow or not. So to your point, I love when you focus on that age group because as obviously people can do better when they're younger. Hopefully
Mhm,
they don't have to go to a point where they're very behind the eight ball there, but
mhm,
but certainly it's not too late. You can start. So that was another item that you mentioned. So those are just my little pointers as
mm,
far as what you just mentioned there. There's a lot there. So to go back to my question, how did you manage to veer
mm,
off the bad path into the sports? Because that opened up
mm.
a whole new league for you, which guided you
Oh
to
yeah.
where you.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I think initially, because I was young, I was 6, 7, 8 years old when the physical stuff was abuse was happening, right? So I didn't really know how to interpret it. I know it was painful, and I knew being on a basketball court or a field felt like heaven. So the feeling of that was what I gravitated to at the beginning because it just felt so great. And I think eventually as I got older, I have a I'm one of those type of people that has a burning desire to succeed. I've always been that way. I want to understand stuff. I want to understand how to do it right. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's people that you can learn from, always obviously during your journey, no matter what you're doing, right? So I have a burning desire to succeed, and I have the most powerful gift, one of the most powerful gifts ever given to us. It's the power of choice. You can choose left, you can choose right, man. And either choice is fine. You do what you have to do. I just had that choice of wanting to succeed, which meant I need knowledge, I need to learn, I need to understand so I can make those better choices. So that's kind of, looking back at it, I think that was the path I took. And you're so right. There's that negative path that you can take. And part of what I do now today, especially with young youth groups that I've trained in the past, I always talk to them at the end of the workout about that exact same thing you're talking about, Hurricane. You have to choose who you want to become. You can write your own story and, be aware of it. And you're not always going to make the right decision, but if you're always erring on that side of making the right decision that's gonna make you more empowered, that's the seeds of your life. And what I teach now, it's called the roots of longevity and personal performance. So those are the speeches I'll give to a group or a company or whatever. And I talk about that very thing. you can make changes in your 40s, 50s, 60s that will greatly affect how you live in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. Just think about this. If you're 38 years old and you're a male, and if you're 39 years old and you're a female, your life is half over, technically. You say that to people and the whole room goes quiet. They're like, man, I've never really thought about that. Somebody 45 or 50 is going, wow, I'm in the seventh inning of my life. I got 9 innings to play, right? I want to go into overtime. So when you begin to realize that stuff, I think people pump the brakes a little bit and they'll listen a little more intently because like you said, once we hit our 40s, things change. We're not, you know, playing football with our buddies on the weekend at 28, going down hard and, we're fine with it, right? You do that in your 40, mid 40s, 50s, you're feeling that
We're
stuff. We're losing the systems of our youth. And this is what I talk about, right? And, the other thing I talk about is you go to the doctor and they'll measure a few major things, right? They'll measure blood pressure. They'll measure diabetes. Okay. They'll measure, if you're a smoker, and they'll put mortality rates on that. Okay. And they'll tell you, hey, if you have high blood pressure, you have a 20 to 25% increased chance of dying young. If you have type 2 diabetes, you have about a 32% chance of dying young. If you're a smoker, you have a 50% increased risk of dying young. Those are startling numbers. That's traditional medicine. But what they don't tell you is if you have low muscle mass and low strength, you have a 250% increased chance of dying young. If you have
250%.
250%, okay? If you have low cardiovascular capacity, your VO2 max, if it's low, you have a 400% chance of dying young. Nobody talks about that stuff. So when I talk about longevity and the science behind how you practice this stuff right, I have such a large sample size now of people all over the world that I train online or I'll write protocols for. I don't do many because I get into it and I really design it for them. They're floored at the systems that I give them. They're achievable, they're sustainable, but man, do they move the needle. And these are the decisions that when people really realize if you're 45 or 50 or 60, you don't have many years left. So I say that it's more important at that age to really understand and get on a program that will actually move the needle for you rather than being 19 or 20 years old in the importance of working out. It's still important. I'm not saying it isn't, but we're so much more um, um, uh, able to withstand the next 10 years in front of us when we're 20, right? The question is, if you're 50 or 55, can you withstand the next 10 years in front of you? Do you have the strength and the vitality through your circulatory system, through your musculature? Do you have it? I'm telling you, 8 out of 10 people don't. That's why they end up in trouble in their mid 60s. And then the pharmaceuticals come into play and it just collapses right there. So these systems that we deal with and that I teach really are meant to take people and add some muscle mass, keep their mobility, increase their mobility. We have all these different things that we do that take the human body and elevates it to a point where I have people in their early 70s and mid 70s that are they've been with me for a while. I'm talking about in shape as much as people in their 40s. Incredible shape. Their concierge doctors now are calling me saying, "We need to meet." I don't know what you're doing with these people, but they're off the charts. They're better shape now than they were 10 years ago. And this is what I'm talking about. And that's why I wrote the book. And I have things that I do with people, Hurricane, and I do want to talk about one of them that I do that is absolutely the biggest bang for your buck. If somebody's listening and they're in the US, I can't really do this outside of the US. I have a new system that we've been started using late last year, and now I do this for people all over the country. And I tell them, if you do nothing else, just listen to me right now, because this is a game changer for you. It's the easiest thing for you to do to actually move the needle on your health. It's not the only thing you should do, but it's without a doubt the easiest thing for you to do. And I just want to take a minute and talk about it. We now
Please.
do, when people come on board now, and all my existing, clients I work with, we do a 120 marker blood panel. It's a nutrient lab. Okay. This thing is so incredible. This is what pro athletes do, and this is the group of physicians they heard me on a podcast, and now I collaborate with them. This is so deep because the blood doesn't lie, right? We do them with all the lab cores throughout the country. Listen to this. This test usually is $1,500. We have it at $349. It's the best $349 you'll ever spend. You order the kit, right? I have it on my website, or people email me for it and I link them up. $349, 120 biomarkers. We take that blood work, they get an individual panel. They can see all the deficiencies in their blood. It gets better. We have our own manufacturing facility in the US, no middlemen. We produce the 5-star gold supplementation, vitamins, minerals, gut bacteria, all that stuff, creatine. This company's exploded. We take your blood work and we custom blend a pack for you. $149 a month for this, custom blended for your deficiencies, right? Most people waste $100 a month and more on supplements, buying them on Amazon or Walmart or, Walgreens. They don't even know if they need the supplements. And then they're buying inferior supplements, stuff that's made overseas, heavy metals in it. You have no idea what you actually need. This is what I've brought in, and it is taking people and it is elevating them right out of the gate. It's incredible. So I just want people to know, if they ever want to do that, they can go to my website. They can email us, or by now it's probably up on the website. They can just go order it right there. And I just tell people, if you don't do anything else, at least do that. It's done for you. It's an incredible, incredible platform. You will sleep better. You will metabolize fat better. You'll have more energy, just to start with, by balancing your minerals and vitamins in your system, stuff that you need, right? Now we talk about adding fitness protocols on top of that. If somebody wants to go there, we design the rest of it for them. And we're really busy right now because of the people that we already work with, and now with the book. And like I said, it's a gift from God, from me, to be able to be in this position, and coming from where I came from, young, physical abuse, to be able to be in a position of empowering people now. I can't tell you how great that feels for me to be able to connect with people doing that stuff. So, yeah.
Well, Timothy, just listen to you. First of all, it is a great position to be in, and yes, you're transferring people for the better. You're helping people. It's a noble, I guess, cause, and it's a noble action, and it's a good thing to do, and it's rewarding. And frankly, I mean, it serves you well in terms of your own, because obviously you practice, because I could see
Mm,
that you are in a good shape yourself. I mean,
yeah.
and that actually, shows. I mean, you can tell someone is taking care of business, and
Mm,
or if you're not really up there. Sometimes it is what it is, right? But you hit on a lot of things. First of all, this whole thing about the science and the markers, especially in the nutrients, and we can, you know, dive in a little bit more in that
mm,
aspect of things, because I think we've had a couple of discussions before, and I've read a lot of stuff about these things, because we do have the nutritious channel, and the problem is that I think today in the states, or around the world, especially in the states, I think we are deficient in a lot of nutrients.
mm,
I mean, I think the average
mm.
person does not even get 10% of what they need on
That's
a
right.
daily basis. And we
Yep.
don't even know as you said, we don't even know what really we need, because everybody's different. Every, genetics are
Mm,
different. Yours and mine are not the same. It's not like it's not a one paintbrush for across the board for everybody.
that's right.
You have a different tan, I got a different tan. I mean, it's like different shades of the same color, but it's not going to apply
Yep.
the same way to you. Like, we can have the same vitamins, the same minerals, they're not going to do the same effect. And so that's the thing. So these markers, or these tests, I think, are just the new thing. And there's a few shows that I've had discussions where
Mm,
these are like I guess, the recommendations, and you have that
Yep.
available. It's funny you mentioned it's $300 something dollars. People spend a lot more than that in
Oh
cigarettes and
yeah.
alcohol. And now
Totally.
I was going to throw something else there when you talk about these statistics. They're alarming. I
Oh yeah.
mean, 250% higher risk when you smoke, 400% higher risk.
Yep.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
now what about vaping? That is, to me,
Oh man.
that's the
Oh,
ultimate no-no. I can't understand how
it's
people, they're just grabbing that thing in their hand. It's
oh
easy. They don't have to do anything. They just keep, they're going, literally sounds funny, sucking on that thing and
yep.
just inhaling chemicals.
It's
And
so bad. I'm
with
so glad
with
you're bringing this up.
oh no, I am very, I mean,
Mm,
I'm an anti, I'm sorry if you companies out there that do that business, you just,
mm.
not in my favorite, pack here, but I see it, like every day. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
driving, I'm looking, people everywhere in the street, and dude, we know what cigarettes did to people. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
clear thing. You have signs everywhere, and these things are much far worse in
Oh,
no, by no means. They destroy everything that we have, our hormones and stuff.
yes.
You add that to everything else that's around us, the environment, the food,
Mm,
the added you know stuff that is not, that's edible ingredients that are not nutrition in our food. I mean, come on, it's like it's a we're basically just being hurt, inside out, from these things. And but people are like, we are spending money on these things, we're like volunteering our bodies as a test run for these products. And then, to your point, and by the way, the effects of this vaping thing is not even yet. I mean, we're
that's right.
seeing it in the last
Mm,
couple of years. We started seeing some statistics
yep.
already,
Yep.
but people that are doing this like big time now.
Mm,
If you're in the 20s and 30s, I mean, I hope that you actually do a good job and make it, further with no illnesses,
mm.
because it is our bodies are designed to operate in natural format, meaning getting the right
That's right.
nutrients, the right stuff. And yes, with science now we can even do better. Like, you can dissect it to the, this is what kind of
Yep.
magnesium, what kind of, level of
That's right.
zinc you need, or what kind of
Yep.
combination of, minerals that you need, all that stuff. Like, and that's the other thing. Sometimes, and you mentioned something that's interesting. There's a lot of supplements out there.
Mm,
They're not equal. The qualities are different, as you said.
yep.
I guess the potency of these things is really,
You have no
from the
idea what
chart.
you're buying. You have no idea what
Exactly.
you're buying.
Yeah, a lot of sugar in those things mostly.
Yep.
I mean, all the wrong stuff. I mean, talking about the wrong stuff, that is
Yeah.
the wrong stuff. And yeah, but we all operate with that. And so I'm glad that you guys are addressing this. And to your point, you mentioned something else, which is, like you mentioned muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the average person does not build up, in their life, when they're young.
Yep.
And what what we need to know, I think, you didn't mention, but you alluded to it, is that we lose mass every year,
Mm-hmm.
as we age, right? And so if you're not substituting that with the right ingredients and the right workout,
That's right.
you're going to be weaker and weaker, then you're frail, then your bones are going to be exposed. I mean, people fall and break easily.
Yeah.
If you have enough muscle, there's a cushion. If you don't have muscle,
That's right.
that's a problem. So all this stuff is real and it's happened. But I love that you've taken it to the next step. You've
Mm-hmm.
built up to it. You have the expertise because you've gained that. I mean, listen, I consider myself an expert in my field of work, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your field of work is sports and fitness, and this is what you've done all the
Mm.
years. And so this is something that you're a goat yourself, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and frankly, I say that. I mean, you
Mm.
you. And by the way, I love that title, by the way, the goat
Thank you.
within, because
Thank you.
it's funny. Like, we always, point at others. Hey, here's the goat of this,
That's
or
right.
she's the goat at that. But you're right. Everybody has that.
We
We're the
have it in
great,
us.
of all times. Yeah, we're it. But in our own, environment. It's not. Maybe we're not.
How do you access it? That's the
Uh,
key.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's genius. I mean, yeah. Whatever made you think about that, and the idea of that you can write your own story. That's the
Mm.
other thing. I mean, the story is written somehow, and we are dealt cards, but it's this is one card pack that you can actually switch anytime. This is not a limited amount of cards,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's something people don't realize. In a deck of cards, you're limited. In
Yep.
life, you're not limited. You can switch at any time.
It's putting the right components together in the right combinations, because if you think about fitness and longevity, there's a million things out there you can do, but are they the right system? Are they the right pieces put together at the right time in the right sequence? These things pull metrics out of your body. Okay. The goat within. Okay. We have it in us, but most people are operating at 40 or 50%, mostly because they're nutrient deficient and they're getting crushed by toxic mass-produced food. I go over all this stuff for people. The first 75 pages in my book is about that. You can have the greatest workouts in the world, high level, PhD, PhD level, but if you're feeding yourself toxic nutrition, it brings it to its knees, right? So one of the things I've done, and I have this in the book as well, Hurricane, I was so fascinated years ago with food production because the root of all food production is a lack of nutrients in the food supply. So I went on a tear. I don't know how my wife didn't divorce me. I ended up on fields, fields all over the world, and I actually own a patent on nutrient dense soil that's all organic. I beat out about 11 scientists. So let me tell you very quickly, because this relates to the human body as well. So I've been on fields everywhere from California to South America to Asia, Thailand, okay, Mexico, huge fields. Most of the produce in the United States comes from there, right? So look, we would go on these crops. You could see for miles strawberries, okay, broccoli, you name it, right? So all these crops are being sprayed, and the fertilizers are all toxic oil derivative fertilizers because it makes the plant grow quick and it keeps it green, nitrogen, but there's no nutrients in the soil. The soils have been burnt out. So I work with a company in Ohio. This is 12 years ago. Logan Labs, they're the largest soil testing laboratory in the world. I'm very close with Susan now, who she's an agronomist. She owns the company, all that stuff. So we would go on fields, we would soil test, and we would look at all the deficiencies in the soil. Then we would do what was called a paste analysis. We would grind up the leaves of whatever plant or crop, and that plant was deficient exactly what the soil was deficient in. Then we knew how to put organic inputs on those fields, and we would triple the production of the crops. No
Opposite.
infestation because insects don't attack healthy crops. They attack only weak crops. But I write a little bit about this in my book. The body is the same way. We're deficient. The only way to find out what we really need is through a blood panel that takes 5 minutes at our LabCorp. And once people realize that, this is what I'm saying. It's the greatest kick they could ever get if that's all they do. Just at least do that for yourself. Okay. So I've got experience on crops, some of the biggest companies in the world. We would analyze fields and look at the deficiencies in the soil, would show up in the plant. We knew exactly how to turn those crops around from being sick and weak into healthy and strong. That's my book. That's what I write about. The goat within. We all have it, but you have to know how to access it. It's not that hard. You need coaching. You need somebody that knows what they're doing. Obviously, I'm going to say that I'm in the business, right? But you really do. And the way you train for muscle, I'm so glad you're tuned into that. Muscle is the engine of your body. It soaks up, bad carbohydrates. If you're eating sugars, it soaks it up. It's a filter for your body. It obviously is like a bigger furnace in your body. We can burn more calories the more muscle we have, but there's a right way to gain muscle. Most people try to gain muscle so incorrectly, they quit fitness. Oh, it didn't work for me. Oh, I can never get any gains. Oh, I hurt myself. This is what we teach: biomechanics, kinesiology, how to do this stuff the right way. And once people lock in to our system, which is actually called the fitness quadrant, it's a trademark system that we have, people start to know how to put the pieces together. And I've made great friends with podcast hosts and clients. We've actually become friends over the years. They've stuck with the program. They teach their spouse, they teach their kids. And that's what I ask people to do. Once you learn it, pass it on. Get people to really understand this and start to elevate everybody around you. You got to make that choice. And to me, there's no more noble choice than to take your family, your immediate family, and elevate them through stuff like this. Teach them these habits because the school system doesn't teach you. Okay. The medical field doesn't teach you, right? A $5 trillion industry. Do you really think they want you to be super healthy? I don't think so. That's a lot of money every year, man, right? I don't even want to get into that end of it, but I've got my
Well,
issues.
well, I'm listening to you, but actually, that was something I was going to ask, is because I'm glad you touch on the soil and the nature, but that's the thing. It's depleted across
Yeah.
the planet, and I don't think they've taken the measures to do this and to replace that soil and give it what it requires to actually give
Yep.
the healthy stuff. I love what you said about because that's what we know. You need, it's funny. I was joking with my son the other. I was looking at a reel, and it says humans are the only species that actually uh, sprays food with poison so they can kill
Yeah.
animals, and then they wind up eating themselves. I mean,
Exactly.
when I saw that, I was like, start cracking up, and I told my son, I mean, dude, I mean,
It's
what are
so
we
true.
doing to ourselves? But
Yeah.
we are. I mean, you
That's
think
what
about
we
it, right?
do.
But what you just said is like it's like you destroyed that right now, because what you just mentioned is that insects eat bad stuff. So if we produce good stuff, there will be no insects. We don't need the fertilizers or the spray or the pesticides, and
Yep.
those things that they spray that.
Herbicides, pesticides, full of
There's a,
glyphosate. Yeah.
yeah, the bad stuff, right?
Yep.
We don't need that. What we do need is the right stuff. And it's feasible because you're able to do it. You can infuse the soil and get the
That's
right
right.
nutrients and stuff, and revamp it, if you want to call it, like revitalize it, right?
Yeah, that's what we
And you
do.
do
Yeah.
that, and so it is possible. But you just said, I mean, yes, there's industries that will not thrive if everybody is healthy, right? But
Hmm.
but here's the thing, though. Society, I mean, it's funny. It's like it's deciding on there's a lot of marketing and propaganda, right? For example, society keeps telling us, hey, slow down, live your age, right? You're 55, 65.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's an idea that we were sold, and it is
That's right.
damaging. We don't have to have that. That's the thing. But
Yeah.
but because we are like programmed, when you're getting old, that's it. Like even our kids, like my kids sometimes like, well, Dad, you get old. Well, I'm feeling okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, obviously you got to live your age in a way, but who says I cannot do exactly stuff now? Maybe I cannot jump the same way I did, like 10 years, 15 years ago.
That's right.
Maybe I still do my role. I mean, I do rolls and folds and stuff, and because in martial arts we do all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not gonna take that away from me, right? I got to do my stuff. I still have to do stuff, but I have to deal with it differently because I
That's
need to work.
exactly
I got to
right.
warm up differently. I got to work certain
Yep.
parts. When you're young, like you don't care. Your body is can take the beating,
Yeah.
but slowly but surely that beating is just gonna feel pain for you. So, but we are conditioned through the market, and I mean, we're
Mm.
talking about nutrition, right? It's funny because we've been told bad things, you know, that were good things that were bad, and vice versa, because that's the way it is. You
Oh yeah.
plan to make sure, like sugar is the good stuff, and the other stuff is
Yeah.
bad for you, like
Yeah.
eggs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
meat is bad for you, right?
Right. Right.
And
It's the
and we
opposite.
became
Yeah.
it's the opposite, right? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, people don't go deep into this stuff. I mean, I think there's an awareness,
Mm.
and I guess in the states now with the new, finally they flipped that pyramid a little bit.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep.
glad they did that. I mean,
Yep.
it only took a couple of decades or half a century, whatever that
Mm.
was.
Mm.
But frankly, it was always there. People realized know that. I mean, it's funny. You want to build muscle. I mean, muscle is meat. I mean, I think protein can help there, right? I mean,
Mm.
and I'm not the science. It's
Yeah.
just like meat. I
Yeah.
mean, now so I've had an argument one time. Somebody says, "Well, the horses don't eat, and they're not carnivores, but they look good." Well, that's the way they were built. I mean, that's different.
Different genetics.
Exactly. So you can't compare like horses to humans, right? But those are the things. Like, but it's been a almost pushed on us as a society to
Hmm.
believe certain things, and then we work with that. And certainly, you mentioned something at a certain point. If your body is not doing it, guess what? You're going to wind up getting some bad supplements, which I'm referring now to drugs, and statins, and things, and so on
Yep.
and so forth. And that's it. One question, because you mentioned this about the statistics earlier, the statistics
Mm.
about the cardio. A lot of people do cardio, but they don't
Hmm.
do mass. I mean, you hear this all the time, like let's jogging, running, and stuff. That's
Mm.
great. Your
Mm.
cardio is pumping,
Hmm.
but the muscle, to your point, is not building, right? I mean, yes, you look fit because I mean, everybody's got their muscle mass, whatever that is.
Yep.
And yes, obviously, if you have no fat, it's going to be nice and tight and cut and all that. But is it sustainable for you
Mm.
to maintain
Mm.
for the next, I guess, 3, 4, 5 decades that come along after you hit that 40, 45 mark? Those are all questions that people don't realize. So I'm glad
But-
that your work is almost a full 360. You cover
Oh
from
yeah.
all angles. You're giving them the tools. You're giving them the science, the knowledge, and
Hmm.
you're giving them also the products, and you're also
Oh
giving
yeah.
them the, as you said, the matrix, right? So that is important. Now you work. Um, how, I want to ask the question about like
Mm,
how people can connect with you, and how does this program work? I mean,
mm.
is it a like a sessions? How does the whole program
Sure.
apply to individuals? Is
Mo
there
most
different ones?
most yeah, most of the stuff that I do is one-on-one or one-on-two, right?
Mhm.
Everybody gets in touch with me through our website, which is lifestrong.net, www.lifestrong.net. A lot of information on that website. People email me through it all the time, which I love getting their emails. Um, so when we take somebody on, we literally are going to write an entire ecosystem customized to them. If it's somebody that's 31 years old, it's very different from somebody that's 62 years old. Just like you mentioned brilliantly, my I still roll my jujitsu, a little bit of Muay Thai still, but I've been fighting for
Love it.
years. Yeah. So, I train differently now in the gym for my strength and endurance and mobility and range of motion, all that sort of stuff, right? And so people, you go through these phases where your outcomes are different, like I just said. So your modalities need to be a little bit different. And let me just jump quick into the cardio piece. And I'm really glad you brought that up. In my fitness quadrant, right? That's the middle section of our matrix. It's think of four boxes: R, N, C, R. The top left of the fitness quadrant is resistance. That's where muscle is made. Okay. Very deep science, right? The top right of the quadrant is nutrition. It's the two by fours and nails. It builds muscle if you're eating enough of the right biological proteins, all that stuff, right? Gives us energy with the right type of glycemic carbohydrates. Blah. The lower left is cardiovascular. Everybody reaches for cardiovascular. It's an important piece of the fitness quadrant. But here's what happens. It's easy to get on a treadmill. I'm just going to do my fitness or go for a run, right? What happens is if you're doing excessive amounts of cardio, and especially if you don't have the nutrition piece proper, your body uses up glycogen to go through that cardio session. And after it runs out of glycogen, which it does in about 30 or 40 minutes, it starts to hunt in the body for new energy sources. It's a process, scientific process called gluconeogenesis. Sounds fancy, and it is. What it means is your body starts to break down nutrient dense tissue, which is muscle, pulls it through the liver and converts the amino acids out of your muscle into glycogen to keep running, to keep doing the treadmill. So what's happening is people are losing muscle mass while they do a lot of cardio. So they're losing the very thing they don't want to lose, especially when they're 45 or 50. Cardio is important, but you got to put it in the right sequence. It's got to be the right heart, beats per minute, depending on what the outcome is. Okay. Resistance is where muscle is built, where joint stability is built, where all these different lubricants in your joints get produced, called synovial fluids, all these things to keep you loose and happy and moving, right? Like you and I are considered old in the jujitsu world, right? I'm 61, I'm still pounding. And all these young guys are like, how do you, what's with you, man? It's because I know how to train the right way to be sustainable, right?
I'm sorry you said that because I've seen some masters that are in the 70s and 80s, and they can take down
Oh yeah.
young folks like they're just leaves. I mean,
Chew them
it's
up.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So all these pieces is what I started the show with. I mean, they matter. It's a combination game. There's science in each one of them. The last one, the lower hand right, is recovery. There's post-workout recovery strategies, very simple but highly effective. And then there's long-term recovery strategies, right? So sandwiched in between those four quadrants, the very top line of the longevity matrix, eliminate toxic nutrition. You have to know what toxic nutrition is. We have an ebook that writes about that. I talk to people about it. The bottom piece, the number six out of the six matrix steps, uh, underneath is customized supplementation. The foods we eat today, as we alluded to 15 minutes ago, are not nutrient dense. So we're not getting we're not pulling it out because the plants aren't pulling it out of the ground anymore. So that's what's kicked off 40, 50 years ago, all these diseases. We don't get the nutrients our bodies really need to thrive optimally. So this is where I'm saying to people, get a blood work done with us, find out what you really need. We've made it so inexpensive and attainable. It's really a replacement cost for inferior supplements you're already buying. It's a replacement cost. It's not really an additional cost if you take the average person that buys 3 or 4 supplements every month, right? So this is part of that whole matrix thing. Man, once you tune into it and get it right, your life literally spikes. Your energy, it just people feel it, right? It's the roots of longevity and performance. And I get so excited about it only because I have hundreds of people that have gone through it and have literally turned the corner in their life. Some of them are, in their 70s. So I can't emphasize it enough to people. You can hit the anabolic triggers in your body virtually at any age if you know how to do it. And that is the goat within. That's why I named the book, like you picked up on, the greatness inside of you. How do you get to it? I mean, at the end of the day, who wouldn't want to be 25% more energetic? Who wouldn't want to have less brain fog? Who wouldn't want to look a lot better than maybe the average person walking around, right? Who wouldn't want to thrive in their 60s, 70s, and I have people in their 80s that train with me that are still surfing, jumping on
Mhm.
surfboard where I live and riding waves, right? They weren't 5 years ago because they didn't have the mobility or strength. Now they're back in the water. These people that haven't surfed in 15 years, they're back. So this is what I'm talking about. Life is meant to enjoy, right? Be enjoyable, but it's hard to enjoy it if you're decaying into, aging into sickness and weakness and pharmaceuticals and toxic food, and you don't have an adequate regimen every week that really is pushing the needle for you. And I just want people to realize there's absolutely it's the best medicine in the world if you do it right. You just can't join a gym and kind of copy what people are kind of doing in a gym. That's not a strategy. That's guesswork. So there's a way to do it, and I just love when people start to follow it, and they have to want to make that choice. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, the choices, as you said earlier, with life, we have to make choices, and you
Mm,
either make a choice to live a happier, life of full longevity
yeah,
and really like excitement. Because you mentioned somebody at 60 or 50. I mean, that's an age maybe you're becoming a grandparent, right?
yeah.
Would you be able to enjoy your grandkids? I mean,
There you
if you have
go.
no energy, you're not gonna do stuff. So here you go. You have these beautiful, creatures that are running, and you want
Yeah.
to do things with them, but you just can't. I mean, there's no energy. You're like dull. It's bad.
Mm,
But those are the things, and you in your last piece of discussion, you focus on the resistance. I mean,
mm.
it's really strength training is not an option. It's an essential thing, and
Oh yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
we I think we have to just highlight that big time because um
Big time.
and
Yep.
I think there is a myth about that. Like people think, well, strength resistance training. I mean, like I'm buff up. I don't want to be like those guys going for muscle, fitness books or whatever. No, this is not competing. I think if you don't mind, if you can clarify for that, what does that mean? It takes a
Hmm.
lot to actually be at that rate.
Oh
It's
yeah.
more about building. So if you don't mind, just give a little bit on that because
Absolutely. No.
I think people think, especially women, they don't want to bulk up or work because it's gonna
Hmm.
make them look like manly or something.
Mm.
Is that a myth or is that a real thing?
No, this is one of the major premium points of what we do. Okay. First of all, let's take a woman, for example. One of your biggest nightmares, if you're a female, is getting into your 40s and 50s, osteoporosis.
Mm,
Okay. The bones becoming brittle and weak, right? There are PhDs now in the world of wellness and longevity that are finally now giving speeches saying we've had it in the answer to osteoporosis in the palm of our hands for decades. It's not a drug. It's not a shot every 6 months to try to increase your bone density. It's resistance training. When you actually pull on a muscle, the muscle is attached to tendons that are attached to the bones in your body. The tendons pull on the bones. When the bones are pulled on, the bones go through a process called adaptative remodeling. The bones have to get stronger because the tendon is pulling on it. Okay, so over time, you start to get more bone density through this adaptative remodeling process. And my wife is 63 and she's a beast, 125 pounds. She doesn't even realize it. We've been working out together for years, my whole family, my two boys, right? And she looks like she's 38 years old in a bathing suit, and people are like, "How are you 63? And how are you squatting 150 pounds, not even thinking about it and doing all these movements?" Right? So for men, resistance training, if you're going for the bodybuilder look, that's a whole different discussion. Most of what people see on the magazine covers, they're blown out on steroids. They are in the gym, 12 hours a week. It's a, that's the extreme end of the musculature that we see. And unfortunately, people think, oh, if I go to the gym, I don't want to look like that. Listen, good luck. First of all, you have to have the genetics to look like that. Second of all, you got to be on, some some synthetic stuff, right? And third of all, you got to put the time in, right? So people really kind of unfortunately equate fitness to the big musculature men and women, right? And that goes for women as well. The big women that you see all jacked out, they're on steroids. I mean, they're on a huge amount of that stuff, right? The last thing you need to worry about is getting that big, bulky look. Resistance training is a science. You want tensile strength in the muscle. You want to have create an environment that the muscle goes through what is called hypertrophy, which means a little bit of growth. The little tiny actin and myosin contractile proteins in the muscle will compound a little bit if the right resistance is put on the muscle. Now think about it. There's 650 major muscles in the human body. If I took your skin off the human body, there's muscles cutting at all different angles. You have to know how to train specific muscle chains, specific muscle groups. How much weight do I use? How many reps? How many sets? How many times a week? Here's the problem. We need enough weight, enough resistance to trigger hypertrophy. And here comes the problem. When people they get to that range where they're using enough weight to challenge the muscle, typically, 6 to 12 rep range, right? To give somebody a sort of a baseline. Okay. Here's what happens. They don't have any kinesiology back. They don't have biomechanics. They're doing the movement incorrectly. What happens? It puts pressure on the joints. All of a sudden, you start tearing out joints. You start getting micro tears. All of a sudden, oh, I hurt my back. I hurt my knees. I hurt my shoulders because they're doing the wrong biomechanics. And it is a huge problem. I see it in the gym with trainers. They've never been taught biomechanics. And I see so many of them, God bless them. I know they're trying to do good work that don't know how to teach the proper exercise form, let alone the patterns, the sequences, the choice of movements. All that stuff matters. And I could go into a 2 hour show with you just on bioenergetics, how ATP and PC affect, muscle firing. I mean, it goes deep. And we give enough of it to our clients. They become such, mini experts at training. They get back to me like, oh man, I saw people, everybody in the gym, they don't know how to do a squat right, or they were doing that wrong, because we teach them to that degree and they really become equipped to do this stuff the right way. Uh-oh. We still there? Okay, there we are. Yeah. So that becomes the problem is if people, use enough weight to promote muscle growth, which is, I'm not talking about using 5,000 pounds for a lift. I'm not talking about that. That's powerlifting. But we have to use enough weight to stimulate hypertrophy. But the problem from there, and I want to make it clear, becomes the biomechanic. This is where people get injured or or they cut down other systems we probably don't have time to get into today, called Golgi tendon organs. They're these little embedded fuses in our connective tissue that when joints feel this torque, the muscle won't be able to fire all the way because the central nervous system gets cut off because it's a protective mechanism. We sense torque, the GTOs get turned on. So what I'm really trying to say is if your biomechanics are incorrect, you're only really using about 70% of the muscle firing because the GTOs are getting turned on and your central nervous system won't fire that muscle. By the way, the human body, how about this stat, has over 100,000 miles of circuitry in it. 100,000 miles. Okay. You don't think the central nervous system plays a big role in your training, your ability to avoid slip and falls? Okay. All this stuff, little bits and pieces we bring when we onboard people. And a lot of times people are silent. I'm like, hello, you're still there? They're like, I am just fascinated with what you're teaching me right now. And it gets them really into adapting a lifestyle. And it doesn't take any more than 2 hours minimum, 3 hours a week. You can do this. And once people realize if it's done the right way, huge results. And at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. That's what I want. That's what you want, Hurricane. That's what listeners want. How do I get results on this stuff? And I'm telling you, it's a procedure. It's you got to do it the right way. So hopefully people will buy my book. Okay, it's done really well. It's on Amazon, really all over the world. It's the best 18 bucks you'll ever spend. And from there, reach out to me. I love when people email me. It's. I wake up every morning looking at emails, and it's just a beautiful thing. I'm here to help. I'm here to interact with people and get them, further down the road. And if I can give that gift to them, that's what makes me tick. And again, my website is lifestrong.net. A lot of information on there. We're continually upgrading the website and adding more. We're going to put libraries of workouts on there soon that people can access for really cheap, under 50 bucks, 30, 40 bucks. They can access libraries of me speaking, or they can access at home workouts or at the gym workouts. Again, I'm trying to get people to realize there's a right way to do this stuff, give them access to engaging in this. So hopefully I can play a role in people's story of their life. If they want to take part of my story and put it in their story, at the end of the day, that's just artwork. That's beautiful, and that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Well, Timothy, first of all, we have no time limit here because we can go on because your stuff is just amazing. I know you have to go, and we're past the hour, but certainly, I mean, this is one of the probably one of the shows that you want to listen to. You want to, at least a couple of times, and definitely, we will have the link to your website on the description show so people can actually link up to you
Great.
directly
Yeah.
because for the book as well as for the lab, the markers tested and all the stuff. Because I
Yeah.
think those are all, and also for the work you do specifically for
Mm,
people.
yeah.
Because there's one thing that you meant I said I'm going to go back to, and I briefly want to touch base on is that the idea of you talked about working with executives and
Mm,
CEOs and business leaders and stuff. You're right. I mean, if this is usually the age, the 40 plus is where people are becoming the executives and they're
yeah.
running big visions and stuff like that. But you know, uh, and I can see there's a trend. I mean, you look at older CEOs versus, I mean, when I say older CEOs, meaning a couple of decades back and now, there are there are trends where you see a lot more youthful looking or more like
Mm,
strength based kind of individuals that they can show that they're that at a certain age, but they portray like maybe much younger, right?
some of them are
You know,
catching on.
Exactly. Some of them are doing that. And I think it's a great, work that you do there because I think that is important because it could be draining. I mean, working in the corporate world and or
Oh yeah.
running business is not, a picnic. It is tough. It is, intense. It
Mm,
drains you. There's a lot of that's the other. It's stressful. Stress
stressful.
is hormones,
Yeah.
cortisol up, everything else is, going haywire
Yeah.
here. So it's a problem, right? So these are the things that we have to. So,
Mm,
so your work is important, and I think for people also in the executive world that if you're listening, I think this is a show for you because you might want to, if you're really into your career path and you want to like be the one running the show, and I mean not the show like our show here, but the show at your place, you
mm,
know, it's really good to be fit, to have that extra, strength to run, the way you
mm,
need it effectively. That was just my little 2 cents on that.
mm-hmm.
Now, I know one more thing. Like, what would be a one marker, metric? That one metric I would say, uh, for longevity that you would just leave people with today.
I'd say, there's a scale of easy and simple to a little bit more complex, right? So we have that scale in there, but I would say I go back to the nutrient RX blood test and get your internal organs balanced. That can set the stage for you to really start to, you feel it. People feel it. They're like, man, I'm more energized. I sleep better. That alone, just that one thing, it's because it's the easiest. You're talking about a simple 5-minute blood test. We analyze it and we can show you what you need, right? And we have other things as well. That's the easiest step for people to take without saying, okay, I really need to do a 2 to 3 hour a week program. That's important. That'll pay bigger dividends when it's all combined. But definitely the blood panel, we're seeing people respond to that in crazy ways. Like they literally feel it. They're sleeping better. I mean, sleep alone is part of our recovery
Oh yeah.
module, right? All right. And talk about stressful work with these people that are running companies in big groups. Okay. I have one executive that runs about 350. He manages about 350 people. This guy's so stressed out all the time. He's working 65 hours a week. He started the program, lost about 14 pounds in the first 60 days. His energy levels through the roof. He's training the right way. And now he's bringing me into his company to address his work, 350 people. And I go through even basic steps for them because he wants a strong work workforce, less sick time, more productivity, clearer thinking. That affects his whole group in huge metrics. So he's bringing me in to do all that stuff, to give these people some basic programming that will really, he's smart. He knows if his crew is better, his job performance as a C-suite manager is going to be a lot better, right? So these are the roots of longevity and performance, man. You any way you cut it, it comes back to that. And so I would say, if people want to design the right lifestyle that pays the biggest dividends with the least time, that's why I created my whole longevity matrix system. People can follow it, they understand it. It doesn't get too sciencey. And again, we do all the heavy lifting. We write that ecosystem for them, and it's just awesome to see. Yeah.
Well, thank you. As a matter of fact, it's funny you said that. I mean, I've used actually different types of trainings to my staff, especially in sales.
Mm,
Uh, I mean, right now I'm independent, but when I go back, to a company, this is something I always do. I think your program can make the productivity much better because you'll get better energized folks that have less stress and able to do more and produce more for
mm,
themselves and the company. So it's
that's
a
right.
win-win for all. And you give them something because I think these programs are usually good to. I participate in a lot of these programs over the years,
Mm,
to my own, career path and my hierarchies. Some of them
mm,
more are very skilled to bring us, experts into the stuff. And I adopted that system
yeah.
myself and applied it. So I think your program can be so. Again, well, if you're watching this and you're a leader in a company and you have a team that you need.
Mm,
Some real focus and energy and all that stuff, especially again in the world of business development sales, it's huge. Even operations is big. I mean, and even clinical stuff. I mean, some of these, medical folks that are out there, they work hard, long
hmm.
hours. But I mean, nurses in the US, they work 12-hour shifts. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
lot of hours to work. I mean, you can't tell me that they're not burnout. I mean, burnout is huge and
that's
it's
right.
real. Some of these
Yep.
things that you're referring to, Timothy, today is definitely a
Mm,
key to removing some of those
yep.
barriers and obstacles in their health and certainly get them to thrive further
Hmm.
longer. Because here's the thing, people work 30, 40 years and then what's there to show for, right? I mean, sometimes,
Exactly.
and it's so sad. I see people that are advanced in age, but they're unfortunately not fit or not fit, but they're not healthy because they
Yeah.
focused on making a living, which is uh, part of life.
Yeah.
But the balance of that versus their health, I mean, it's on the detriment of their own health and
It's so true.
vitality. So
It's so true. You get people in their, upper 50s, 60s, they got a great 401k, but, they're out of breath when they walk a flight of stairs. Where's the balance, right? You're leaving your most important asset behind because you're so focused on the money train and you're providing. And I get it. We all have to consider that stuff. But I say this to people, your health and your health and your wellness will become your number one priority in your life, whether you want it to or not. It will become the number one priority. So be preemptive. just like you are on your 401k investing plan, right? It's incremental every month. You're feeding that lion. You're feeding it. You're feeding it. You got to do the same thing with your health practices. And it just can't be going to Planet Fitness, getting a membership and walking a treadmill once a month. It's got to be more than that. And it's not that hard. You just need the right guidance, the right knowledge. And once you do that, man, you'll find the goat within yourself. I had to say that.
No, you had to. And actually, the word that you use, preemptive, is a powerful word. I mean,
Mm,
everything in life we're supposed to be preemptive, not just reactive, right? And
yeah,
so what you're doing is like, I mean, prior planning prevents poor performance. You plan right for everything,
that's right.
financially, you should
Yeah.
plan, for your health. I mean, right? Fail to plan, plan to fail, right? Same
Hmm.
concept. These are all equal. And we hear this all the time. And frankly, what you're saying is the bottom line. If we don't do this the right way, we lose. And it's not something you want. You want to
Mm,
live as good as long as you live, as healthy, and and that's
mm,
something that people sometimes they ignore until it's too late.
mm,
Now, it's never too late, but it becomes harder. I mean,
yeah.
I would say that. I mean, yes, you can adjust at any given time, and there are
Mm,
elements of people out there. But I do want to just you mentioned something quickly. I know we passed the time, but something that I had when you talked about the markers and the test. What in your statistics? How many people? What percentage of people are completely off from their stuff
mm,
based on the analysis that
mm,
you see? Just to, if you have that number, just to share with people, because
mm.
I think that number is going to be high, and if not, most of
It
us.
is.
So okay, so that
It is. I mean, it's a great question. So, and this is in literature. Um, 100% of us have at least two
ooh,
deficiencies in our body. Every one of us. And then if you break it down even further, like 95% of the people on the planet have at least nine deficiencies. 80% of the people have at least 15. So there's a whole pecking order of where those deficiencies come in. So it's um it's really important that people understand that if you want to run optimally in all areas of your life, right? You have to start optimizing your minerals are huge. There's an incredible book that I read years ago. A soil scientist gave me that I read. Um, God, I got to think of the name of it. That is absolutely mind blowing. It's called. Oh boy, I'll think about it. I'll think of it in a minute because I want people to hear it. Um,
they'll come
uh,
back. It's okay.
it'll come back to me, but it really talks about it's focused a little bit on soil and the human body on how important the right mineral balance is, and you flourish. A crop can flourish, or the human body flourishes. It's called the minerals of the genetic code, and it's an older book, but it is heavy. It's understandable, and when people read that like I did years ago, I was like, wow, this is absolutely mind-blowing science. Um, Minerals of the genetic code. And that's an eye-opener for people. But our bodies, he talks about it, Charles Watt, he talks about it in the book, how how important it is, how detrimental it is if we don't have those balances. We age faster. We don't perform as well. But when we have them, we are at a top 2% of humanity because our bodies are working how they're supposed to work, right? So just great stuff. I mean, there's so much information out there. How do you put it together the right way? And again, that's what it's taken me 20 years to do that, to put it into systems people can follow. And by the way, just to throw it out there, when I say a workout in the gym, a resistance training workout, I have people do at least two a week. All right, sometimes three. If it's an athlete, they're doing four, maybe five, right? Two a week is what you need of the right workout. The workouts are 45 minutes each. You're not in the gym 90 minutes just going berserk. That's not how it is. It's all science based. You're working hard, but you're in a certain compartment of what you're doing. So that's an important thing. You don't need to dedicate 20 hours a week to be a superhuman. You need the right information and the right way to do it. People know they should be doing this stuff. They just don't know how to do it the right way. There's so much misinformation out there. So we've put it together in the right way. And I think that's an important thing for people to kind of really realize, you know.
Well, Timothy, I know where they have to go now, and we're gonna make sure that they go to you because you do have the magic formula, and it's a real scientific one. And yeah, by the way, those statistics are are not
Mm,
what I didn't think. I mean, I did aim for that mark because it's pretty obvious that we all are deficient, and who will be not too shabby. I mean, I think
mm,
we're a lot more than that. To your point, I mean, we are it's just getting worse and worse for us. And by the way, minerals is one of the elements that people don't even think about. They think
oh
vitamins
yeah.
primarily. So, and there's a lot of minerals that people are missing. And so, yeah, we got to do better, folks. And
Mm,
I know we're at the end of the hour, but Timothy, I want to thank you so much for really a great time, great show, great chat, and a lot of solid information. Your website will be a go-to
mm,
for us, and for my audiences. Hopefully, if
mm,
you really care about your health and longevity and vitality, I think it's you want to peak there, you want to connect. I
mm,
mean, it sounds like the stuff is all good for all of us, and it's important to at least take the information, see what's
mm.
available,
Yeah.
and hey, why not, right? Now, that's for the states. It's limited, for the lab work, but like if
Mm,
someone, for example, because this is international, if someone, let's say
mm.
they're in Europe and they wanted to do this test.
Mm.
Obviously, they cannot do it in lab, core in the US. I mean, can you give them a modality that they can use
Um,
somewhere else? Or no?
I'd have to check with my medical team that runs it in the U.S. There probably is. Um, I just don't know if we could get them our, manufactured line of supplements.
Oh, yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
because that's a big thing. We find out in the blood what they need, and then we
You
match it.
make it for them. Yeah.
We
Well,
make it
that's it.
right there. Yeah,
That's an awesome thing. I mean, here's your deficiency. Here's the gap.
yeah,
We're filling the gap. Boom. I mean, I love it. It's a smart way. I mean, these guys are obviously very
yeah.
out there
Oh
in
yeah.
their intelligence. They know what they see. They see the value here, and they're making a
Mm,
difference. So again, Timothy, I there's no words that more that I can give to thank you. I mean, this has been a great run here. A lot of
mm.
positive stuff here that folks can take to the bank. And that's about it. Folks, American Age, this is the end of our show. Hope you enjoyed the discussion today. And we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.
Thank you all.